Coming up, a look at 7 key tips to know before your next visit to Universal's Islands of Adventure. Hello my friends, it's David here from Beyond the Kingdoms and welcome to day 3 of Back to Basics Week, Universal Edition. Today we start diving deeper into each park individually, starting with Islands of Adventure. Now for me, this park has some of the best offerings at Universal. You've got great classics like The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man and great new additions like the Velocicoaster. So with all of these popular attractions and new additions, this park can get very busy and tricky to navigate. But don't worry, because today's tips will make sure you see and do it all like a pro. Let's kick things off with a look at how to map out a one-day touring plan for this park. I consider Islands of Adventure to be the Magic Kingdom of Universal. It's not the original park, but it features the attractions that most people come to the resort for. So planning out your day is kind of tricky. You may be very overwhelmed on where to start your tour, seeing that there's so many great options. But I must say that no matter how you tour this park, you will probably wait an hour for at least one attraction in the middle of the day, especially this summer. That is, of course, unless you have the Express Pass. But if you don't, and in my humble opinion, it's best to start and end your day with Velocicoaster in Jurassic Park and Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure in Hogsmeade. Now I say this because they are the only 2 attractions at Islands of Adventure where the Universal Express Pass is currently not accepted. So no matter who you are or where you stay, you will have to wait in the line for these 2 rides. And leaving them for first and last means you should minimize the wait time. Now, which to do first is a bit of a toss-up, because both are equally exciting during the daytime and at night. But I feel that starting the day with Velocicoaster is the better way to go. During technical rehearsals and the first few official days of operation, this new coaster seemed to be running very smoothly. Hagrid's is very notorious for breaking down or having trouble first thing in the morning. Now, if you start with Velocicoaster, I would then skip over to Skull Island Reign of Khan second. Like I said before, a lot of the rides at Islands see an hour wait time in the middle of the day. And while I love the fact that King Kong is back inside the parks at Universal, this attraction is not worth the hour wait time in my opinion. In some ways, the queue is actually better than the attraction. But this ride is still definitely worth catching, so do it after Velocicoaster before it gets too long. And then just backtrack to Jurassic Park River Adventure or Pteranodon Flyers after that. From here, I would then tour the rest of the park counterclockwise, hitting Toon Lagoon second, followed by Marvel, Seuss Landing, and finishing the day in Hogsmeade, again with Hagrid's as your last attraction. Now, Toon Lagoon after Jurassic Park River Adventure will help with the water ride and locker situation. Which reminds me, allow me to interject a side quick tip here. Yesterday, I talked about the free one-time use locker rentals at select attractions at Universal. Well, there's one more element to that I have to explain here. While the ride lockers are free at the roller coasters, they are not free at the water rides. This is how Universal gets ya. At these attractions, you are not required to store items in a locker, but if you don't, your stuff will get wet. And I don't mean a little wet, I mean absolutely soaked, so you really should use them. At all 3 water rides, you can rent a small locker for $4 for 90 minutes. or you can get a larger locker at $5 for 90 minutes. And no matter what size you choose, it will be $3 for each additional 30 minutes after the initial hour and a half, capping out at $20 for the day. Now, I personally tend to put all of my stuff in a large locker near Popeyes. I then backtrack to Jurassic Park River Adventure first, and keep all of my stuff stowed away while I ride the other 2 water rides in Toon Lagoon. That way, I don't have to keep taking things out of a locker and storing them away for the next one. I know it's a little bit of extra walking, but I think it simplifies things. Now, I think this plan will work well for those of you staying off property. Because if you stay at a Universal hotel, you'll get to do early admission, which leads me to tip number 2. Guests staying at a Universal hotel will get early admission to at least one park during their stay. You have to check your exact travel dates to find out which park will offer it. Now, historically, early admission for hotel guests was just for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. But these days, it's expanded a little bit. For the month of June, for example, all 3 attractions in Hogsmeade will be open during early admission, as will the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. Ollivanders, which is the wand shop in Hogsmeade, will also be open too. But I say save that for Universal Studios. The shop in Diagon Alley is much bigger and can handle the crowds better. So if you take full advantage of early admission, and I mean really rope drop and be among the first in the park, you can start your day in Hogsmeade. Do Hagrid's first, followed by Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey second. That's the attraction within the castle itself. But instead of touring the park counterclockwise from here, go in the opposite direction. Because heading to Velocicoaster when the regular day guests start to pour in will work against you. So this means you'll do Seuss Landing second, followed by Marvel, Toon Lagoon, and then end with Jurassic Park. If for some reason Hagrid's is having a rough start in the morning during early admission, or you're traveling in the future and want to catch the fireworks over the castle, start with Forbidden Journey. If you do good on time and finish before the park officially opens, you can do that original plan of doing Velocicoaster in the morning and saving Hagrid's for last. Like I said, if you don't have Express Pass, you will undoubtedly wait an hour for at least one ride. But any of these touring plan suggestions should keep the wait times at an acceptable length. But remember, you can always use the single rider line to help speed things up. At Islands of Adventure, you will sometimes see a single rider line at the Incredible Hulk, The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure, and Velocicoaster. But like I said in yesterday's video, the single rider line can open and close throughout the entire day. When that line reaches capacity, team members will close it until things calm down a bit. And on some days, Universal can expand it to even more attractions. On some rare occasions, I've seen a single rider line open at King Kong and Jurassic Park River Adventure. Keep in mind that the single rider line will only sometimes reduce the wait time by a couple of minutes. I find that at attractions where more than 2 guests are seated per row, the single rider line moves more quickly. So I find it to be most useful at Forbidden Journey, the Hulk, and Spider-Man.
Now, after all of those thrills and excitement, it's definitely time for a little break. So let's switch gears and look at other offerings at Islands of Adventure, starting with some good places to grab a bite to eat.
Now, I think Universal Studios offers better dining locations over Islands of Adventure.
But this park has a few hidden gems worth noting. Every time I come to this park, I now must make a stop at Green Eggs and Ham over in Seuss Landing. This unassuming snack stand has been closed for many years, but thankfully reopened in December of 2019, and it's been a huge hit with guests. It doesn't serve full meals, but it offers some must-try dishes, like the Green Eggs and Ham tater tots. There's even some Who hash, which has some melted cheese and corned beef on top. Delicious. But if you need a more substantial meal, there are plenty of quick service restaurants throughout the whole park. The trouble is that none of them have ever stuck with me as being a true home run. Some Potter fans love the Three Broomsticks. This is the one major quick service restaurant in Hogsmeade. While you can get some classic British dishes and butterbeer, of course, I actually prefer Leaky Cauldron over in Diagon Alley. But the main selling point at Three Broomsticks is the family meal that can accommodate a family of 4. But most of these menu items can be found at other locations, such as Thunderfall Terrace in Jurassic Park. So I just don't find the Three Broomsticks to be that unique in terms of menu items. But I can understand how a hardcore fan would at least want to go in here and sip on some butterbeer. Other decent backup options around the park are Burger Digs in Jurassic Park and the Captain America Diner in the Marvel section. The menu is pretty basic at both with burgers and milkshake, but it does the job. With the way I suggested to tour the park earlier, you may find yourself eating in the Marvel section for lunch. Captain America Diner is much better than Cafe 4. Now, thankfully, if you're in the mood for a table service meal, there are 2 great choices in this park. First, there is Mythos, located in the Lost Continent area of the park. This restaurant is open for lunch and dinner, and serves some delicious Mediterranean-inspired dishes. It's very good and offers great views of the lagoon if you sit outside in the patio area. But my preferred choice at this park is Confisco Grill. This is located at Port of Entry near the entrance. This sit-down restaurant is smaller than Mythos and sees less traffic, but the theming and food is excellent. The menu here leans a little bit more on the Asian side, but there are approachable American-style dishes here too. Both the ramen bowl and the pad thai are to die for. Pass holders, make sure you check to see if the pass holder lounge is open when you visit, which is upstairs of the main dining room. But I think booking a table here at the end of the day, after you've ridden all of the roller coasters, is the best way to go. And if you dine in here, make sure you check out all the little details inside the restaurant. You'll find props tied to each of the lands in the park. Next is shopping. Universal has some excellent stores to pick up some souvenirs across both parks. But allow me to highlight some of the best places to shop at Islands of Adventure. With the opening of Velocicoaster, Universal has rolled out a whole new line of Jurassic Park merchandise, tied to both the original trilogy and the new Jurassic World films. First, there are actually 2 stores inside the Discovery Center. This is good if you want to get your hands on some merchandise inspired by Velocicoaster. Now, you will see a lot of Raptor-inspired items throughout the entire resort right now, even in the hotels. But these 2 stores are pretty good because it's a one-stop shop to see everything. But the real winner for dinosaur fans is Jurassic Outfitters. This is the gift shop you'll walk through when you exit the river adventure. And this is where you'll see a lot of the new merchandise inspired by Mr. DNA, the animated character that appeared in the original film. So Dino fans, you really should stop in all 3 stores to see the full range of Jurassic Park merchandise. Over in Seuss Landing, you've got a good collection of items if you're a big fan of Dr. Seuss. I particularly like the Mulberry store because this is where you'll find all of the Grinch-inspired items. Even if you come at a different time in the year, this is a great place to get some holiday-themed merchandise. But the absolute must-stop for shopaholics is on Marvel Superhero Island. This land has 3 really big stores dedicated to all things Marvel, from comic books to toys and higher-end collectibles. Spider-Man, of course, has his own gift shop right at the exit of the attraction. The comic book shop, where you'll see Storm fighting Magneto outside, is where you'll find the higher-end collectibles. And the store with the giant Wolverine outside is where you'll see a wide range of toys and other items tied to the entire Marvel universe. You'll even find some items tied to films and characters not seen in this specific land, like Black Panther and Captain Marvel. And since we're in the Marvel corner of the park, let's move on to tip number 6. Where to find characters and catch some entertainment at Islands of Adventure. This land is where you'll see the biggest lineup of characters. Prior to the pandemic, superheroes and villains would come out on 4-wheelers and spread out to their own corners, where guests could line up and meet each of them individually. But at the moment, characters seem to come out at specific locations throughout the entire day and take physically distanced photos with guests. Spider-Man has his own photo stop within the Marvel Ultimaverse store. I also spotted both Green Goblin and Doctor Doom just outside Fearfall. And at the end of the main street where Marvel leads into Toon Lagoon, you'll see a small stage where other heroes rotate throughout the entire day. During my visit, this is where I saw Wolverine and Cyclops. But I've also seen other characters pop up here, like Captain America. Just across that, you'll probably see some characters just outside Comic Strip Cafe, like Popeye, Olive, and Betty Boo. And then across the park, back over in Seuss Landing, you'll see various Dr. Seuss characters outside Circus McGurkus, like the Grinch, of course, and the Lorax. Hogsmeade is where you'll catch one of the very few stage shows at this park. On the small stage at the end of the high street, before you hit the castle, you can catch one of 2 shows. My advice is to check the Universal Orlando Resort app during your visit to find out specific show times for both. Frogwired tends to have some performances in the morning, and then overlap with the Spirit Rally in the afternoon, which usually takes over for the evening hours. But the character experience that you absolutely cannot miss is the Raptor Encounter, located in between the River Adventure and the Discovery Center. This is where you can get up close and very personal with some vicious velociraptors like Blue. In fact, you can either meet a full-size raptor or a baby raptor like this one. Check with a team member at the entrance of the meet and greet to find out exact times when each will come out. The adults tend to rotate with the babies every half hour. But I want to end today's tips with my one must-do experience that you cannot miss on your next trip to Islands of Adventure. While all of the roller coasters at this park are absolutely amazing, do not miss the amazing adventures of Spider-Man. This attraction put Islands of Adventure on the map when the park first opened. It's one of their most technically advanced rides, and that perfect balance of thrilling and fun. This family-friendly attraction is perhaps the best simulator ride in all of the resort. You'll fight bad guys like Electro, Scream, and Dr. Octavius, alongside your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. The attraction saw an upgrade just a few years ago, and the 3D effects are crystal clear now. If it's any Scream-based attraction to ride at Universal, it's definitely this one.
So there you have it, my friends, my top tips to know before your next trip to Islands of Adventure at Universal Orlando Resort. Stay tuned tomorrow because I've got a whole other set of tips for you, this time focusing on the original park, Universal Studios. You won't want to miss it. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and share it with all of your theme park friends. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.